Hi there. In this lecture we see an absolutely amazing encounter, Clash of the Titans, David Bronstein against Paul Keres, who had a number of shots at the world title, always kept coming second though, so it was nicknamed Paul II. So he's beaten so many world champions, Paul Keres. So this is in 1955, the Gothenburg Interzonal round 7, which David Bronstein actually won this whole tournament. It was one of his greatest tournament triumphs. So d4 from David Bronstein, we have knight f6, c4, e6, knight c3, bishop b4, e3, the Rubinstein variation. It's said that players from the old USSR, they modelled a lot of their play on Rubinstein, who had a very crystal clear strategic clarity to his game. So it's interesting he chooses actually the Rubinstein variation, as well as probably studied Rubinstein as well. So c5, bishop d3, bishop b6. We have knight ge2, bishop b7, white castles, c takes d4, e takes, black castles, and now d5. We have h6, so this is weakening the king side a little bit. Is it actually exploitable? If black played e takes, c takes, there is knight takes d5. We can play knight takes d5, bishop takes, and stronger than taking on h7 immediately is a3 first, then bishop takes h7 check, and white does have the advantage here overall in this position. Even though it's equal on pawns, white overall is better. So anyway, h6 though is played. We have bishop c2, which now officially it more officially protects the pawn on d5. Knight a6, we have knight b5, so this is an interesting move, which modern engines regard as an inaccuracy actually. a3 might be a good idea here, because if the bishop goes to e7, we've got, for example, b4 looks like lucrative, and that knight's not great. And if black is going to take on c3, we've just got the bishop pair. So this is a pretty non-controversial advantage overall, this position. We could play d takes first to avoid any pin on c3. If we want to play b3, we don't want to allow a pin on our knight on the c file. We take on e6 first, b3, and white has this bishop pair. So I can see why this might be technically superior to the game, but knight b5 certainly worked a treat in the game though. It's very dangerous. E takes, we have a3, bishop e7, we have knight g3, so another pawn sack. So just letting it's letting d5 and then c4 go. So we're 2 pawns down here. So what on earth is going on in this position? Why does white want to be 2 pawns down? Amazing, isn't it? Something glorious is resulting here. We've got the bishops glaring at the king side. There is a defensive knight on f6 though. We have a potentially aggressive knight on g3. We have another one which might assist jumping in sometimes to f5. What do you think white plays here for 300 points? White's play for 300 points. Okay, it's bishop takes h6. It's a remarkable bishop sack. There is an idea of the knight coming to f5 sometimes in some variations. We have g takes, which is actually an inaccuracy, although it seems most people would play that. It seems knight c5 might be the way to go, to try and use the central control, especially this knight coming in from the side to control the center. Seems the best defense. If bishop takes g7, king takes, rook e1, rook g8, rook takes e7, gets a completely unclear position. This just goes crazy from here. On queen takes, knight f5, black's got this counter attack on g2 coming up. So knight takes, rook takes g2, king f1, check, king f1, rook takes h2, leaving that knight on e7, with rook h1 threatened to win the queen. Knight g6 check, which means that if f takes, we have queen d6 check to pick up the rook. So that can't be taken. I know this is absolute madness. Bear with it for a moment. Queen d6 hits the rook. So check, and taking on a1, knight e7, bishop e4. knight bd4, bishop takes c2, knight takes c2, knight c to e4. All of these moves are not necessarily forced, but they're probably like represent some of the very best moves for both sides. And the resulting position here would be about even. It's crazy stuff, I did say, but it does seem as though that's the best defense available to this whole bishop sack. So in the game, though, it was taken, which is it's an h6 target. So note how we're not 2 pawns down anymore, we're just 1 pawn down. Okay, 6 against 5. Just keep track of pawns because it's interesting. We're about to go 3 pawns up soon. We have queen d2. It's interesting why queen d2 is actually stronger than queen c1, because here knight c5 to the rescue. That e4 square is a defensive pivot square. After queen takes, there's bishop e4 neutralizing a lot of white's attack. Knight f5 is still dangerous, threatening queen g7 mate. Let's say bishop takes, rook e8, rook a to e1. We still have a small edge, but queen d2 is so much superior because this doesn't happen like that. Knight h7 was played. If knight c5, we play rook a to e1, controlling that e4 square before jumping into h6. Don't let this pivot via the center to the king side even happen. Prevent it. And here, any like king g7, we've got knight f5 check, and then that's horrible. If knight e4, though, we can take, let's say bishop g5, f4, knight takes, we have a big advantage overall. Instead of bishop takes e4, knight takes e4, this is also a position which is strong for white. White has a big advantage overall. That knight coming to d6, this position is a nice advantage for white. So it's very interesting how knight c5 is met with this rook a to e1, because if queen takes h6, bishop e4, that pivot from the center takes away some of the attack. And here, for example, white does have a small edge overall. It's still dangerous, but it's better than what happens in the game. Knight g4 we can rule out because of queen f4. Here, bishop h4, we can take out g4, and this is just better. Queen f5 threatens queen h7 mating, among other things, and this position is just better for white. Okay, on king g7, just knight f5 check, queen takes h6, and here knight takes e7 check, queen h7 is checkmate. So various defensive tries, but so knight h7 was the one chosen in the game. We have queen takes h6, so another pawn bites the dust. So it's now 5 pawns each, and now we're a pawn up after knight takes f5, after this f5 trying to defend on that diagonal. So we're a pawn up, and also we're kind of winning in exchange there as well. So rook a to d1, bishop g5, queen h5, queen f6, knight d6 hits that bishop. This is quite vicious stuff. Bishop moves, queen g4, quite viciously threatening both f4 and h4. So king h8. If knight c7, sorry, I've just overjumped there. Sorry, king h8. This position, we're threatening f4 and h4, pardon me. So bishop e4, bishop h6, and now another pawn's biting the dust. This is a bit sadistic, actually. Just taking on c6 to win another couple of pawns here. So it seems how, you know, this king side is like put on hold. Any sort of idea of mating the king is put on hold just to get a situation where 3 pawns up. So at the moment 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, pawn up. We go now 2 pawns up here, and a third pawn is biting the dust because we're hitting a6 and c6. So now we've got 3 pawns. Okay, but has black got any piece activity to work with? Knight e4, black's not given too much chance to do anything. Rook d6, bishop g7, f4 threatens f5, queen g4, h3, queen e2, knight g3 is sweet, protecting the rook, and the king can come to h2, sort of cuddled up in the pawns in bed here, safe it seems. Knight d4 hits the queen moves to d5. We have rook e8. Now here, if knight takes, sorry, we have rook e8, knight h5. So we want to take out that bishop to undermine the knight. We'd be taking the knight later. Knight e2. The bishop is taken. This is just an inconvenience check. Knight takes f4. This is just desperate. Actually, you might have asked, instead of knight takes f4, what about king takes g7? What do we do here? Well, actually, the knight's stopping the 7th rank at d7. That's a clue. What should you play here, do you think? A very good move is rook c6, just to try and get onto that 7th rank. Queen h4, we can play rook c7 check. Queen f7, we're at the gates here of the king. Now, knight g3 check, we kind of win a tempo by getting this situation, allowing these checks, because we now have king h1, there's not an immediate check after. So what does black do here? Let's say black moves the rook to a8, let's just say. Queen h5 check, and taking the knight, so that's no good. So can we do better? Let's say queen g6. How is this endgame? So note, we won so many pawns. We can take off the queens at this point. We won so many pawns. We can play this position. This is okay. We're 2 pawns up, and now 3 pawns up again. And this is a big advantage overall. The knights aren't that good to cope in this situation when we get an outside pass pawn and do things like king h2 for g3, etc. As long as we don't get mated in some ridiculous way, we should be much better there. But yeah, back to the game. Knight takes f4, just accelerated to the end, in fact. Knight takes f4. So game on from here. We have queen f3. We could have also taken on e8 here, because our queen is protecting g2. So knight takes d5 is backfiring to rook takes f8 check, and we end up winning the queen. That would be absolutely winning, showing the strength of the position. But queen f3 was chosen. Knight e2, and now a forcing move which triggers off. It's just a forced like mate. What do you think ended the game here for 10 points? Just rook h6, let the king take on g7. Don't want that knight shielding the king. And this is the end of the game, because if king takes, queen f6 check, and then rook h8 is checkmate. If king had gone to g8, queen f7 is checkmate. So yeah, a wonderful game, a wonderful bishop sacrifice, absolutely amazing. So the opening pretty dynamic. So it's good that just the boring move wasn't played. Knight b5 instead of the boring move a3 to try and collect the bishop pair or play for b4. So we go 2 pawns down with this brilliant concept here of bishop takes h6. This does look like juicy levels of creativity. And actually, this style of bishop sack occurred in a recent game of Gukesh, which really shocked people on like Reddit chess. Yeah, this kind of pattern is really quite a beautiful pattern. It's also passionate. Yeah, it's like a whole bishop sacrifice, creating severe weaknesses around the king. But yeah, it requires precision to play like this, factoring in knight c5, rook a e1. Absolute precision compared to queen c1. Well, you might think in principle we don't want to block the rook anyway from the centre. But yeah, it's precision play here, and just winning these pawns, not being sort of upset about the attack, necessarily not leading to checkmate. Just start winning these pawns with bishop takes c6 to go 3 pawns up. And then, yeah, black's getting overwhelmed here with the pressure, and the threats is just starting to be overwhelming. Black's not really given a free chance to do anything, because there's another threat here, knight takes g7 for queen takes. So black's really on the back foot here, king side weakened, and this is all over basically, whatever happens here. We've just got a very strong position indeed. So knight takes queen f3, yeah, crushing stuff. Okay, wonderful stuff. I hope you enjoyed this as much as me. Thanks very much.